about 10 seconds.
You can turn your camera on.
Oh, yeah. Let me find out. And welcome back to the Crypto Hulk Show. I'm going to try to find my camera right now. I don't know why it's not coming up. Let me try to do this here. View profile, start video. There we are. Can you see me?
I can see you. Yep.
Okay, welcome back to the Crypto Hulk Show. We got a great one lined up. Now, a lot of you had questions, and you were asking me about Caleb Brown and what's going on. And something very, very good is occurring. Crypto is growing. It's getting more competitive. Caleb Brown is positioning themselves to reach out to as many customers as they can in this market that we have. But I'll let Caleb Brown discuss after this because a couple of you had some concerns and I wanted to address those today. And what we're going to do is start off the show by having Jim speak for a few minutes on what's going on. And what I'm going to do is take care of underneath the program, the section where you can sign up and stuff. So Jim, go ahead for about 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to get this show going and everybody welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Hulk. Firstly, very excited and happy to be here again. And thanks everyone for tuning in. As Hulk mentioned, there have been some interesting developments on our end in terms of just where our areas of focus will be as a business moving forward. I've probably stressed this a few times throughout with this community that yes, we're headquartered here in Melbourne, Australia, but really we're a US business. That's where most of our clients are based. That's where most of our focus wants to be because that's really where crypto is becoming the hub of the world is within the US. So for us, it has meant really targeting that market specifically and pretty much putting all of our focus and attention towards that. So I know there's a few people on this call that are based in New York and have wanted to work with us. I can officially say that we're going to go through now the process of applying and getting our BIT license. Now, I've heard that can take up to almost 2 years, but we want to go through that process. And that's off the back of not only, everything that we're doing from a licensing perspective, but even our office presence. So obviously we've got that office now in Fort Lauderdale. We have plans to open up one on the West Coast. And many more of our employees are moving from our Australian headquartered office to the US. So we want to go all in on the US. Unfortunately, that has meant that look, other jurisdictions, especially within Europe and other areas of the world, we've slowly now starting to off ramp away from that. And ultimately, that means we're no longer onboarding clients from other jurisdictions outside of the US, Australia, and New Zealand. And unfortunately, it means we'll be offboarding them over a 6-month transition period. So that doesn't mean that this will always be the case and it's a final decision. Ultimately, as we grow and expand as a business, we will look to open up again to other regions. The UK being a key market that we want to operate in again. But really just the main message of this is that it's business as usual in terms of how our service operates. If you're in the US, that's great news, and it means we'll have more and more resources focused on that market, which means more readily available access to your broker, more and more resources to make sure you're getting the best service experience possible. It's just unfortunate that given the nature of how our brokerage model works, it's very resource intensive and customer focused intensive that unfortunately we can't spread ourselves too thin across hundreds of different jurisdictions as much as we'd love to. So that's really the update on our end. It's really the only key change that we've seen that's come out of the acquisition and with SwiftX. And I know that that's relatively unfortunate and probably disappointing for a lot of the people on the call that aren't based in the US and are in one of those jurisdictions. And look, I totally understand your frustration. And something that I will stress is that whilst it's the decision today, as we grow and expand as a business and we get larger and larger and we're able to service more of the US market as much as we'd like, that's when we'll really start to expand out into other geographies again. So that's the update on our end. If you're a US client that's listening to this, or an Australian client or a New Zealand client, there's no change whatsoever. We will continue to keep operating the same way. Unfortunately, if you're not based in those jurisdictions, that's where there will be some changes. Your broker will reach out to you and let you know about the transition period. But ultimately, that's the news out of our end. So happy to take any questions on that, or just any questions at all about the markets or Caleb Brown.
Okay. Let's see. What we got going on is Stuart Lavelle, because some people just came in, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. Stuart Lavelle's question is, Hulk and Jim, a friend of mine in Malaysia just got an email from Caleb Brown saying he must remove funds from Caleb Brown by December 5th. Can you please set this straight? So what we have is Caleb Brown has to go after where their most customers are. So, from what I'm understanding, is they're choosing the United States as like their biggest market to go after. Um, and these other countries, like Jim, like what countries will you guys service as of right now, or like what's the goal for like now and for the next 1 to 2, 3 months? What are the countries you're going to be servicing?
Yeah, so moving forward, it will just be the Australian, New Zealand, and US market. But
Okay.
that doesn't necessarily mean that we're offboarding people straight away. So there are some jurisdictions, like potentially Malaysia, that we need to offboard potentially quicker than others. But most jurisdictions, if you're already a client, there's a long lead time of about 6 months. So we're not rushing people off the platform. And something that I want to stress for this Malaysian friend of yours, Stu, but also anyone else that is in one of these jurisdictions, is that your account will still always be accessible and you'll still have access to your broker. So it's not like we ever just want to say goodbye and you can't speak to them again. We want to make sure you can continue to have that relationship. It just means, unfortunately, you won't be able to do trades or have any functionality with how we use our service moving forward. Now, that's the case now, but we're hopeful again in the future, like similar to we left the UK market, we're going to try and open up against the UK market within the next 6 to 12 months, right? So these things aren't always set in stone forever, but ultimately, as a business, we do need to make sure that our main market, which is the US, is being served, and that look, we're growing very quickly. We want to make sure that we can continue to provide the same level of service quality that we've provided and focus on the markets that make the most sense for us commercially.
So, okay. Um, so basically, over time, over the next 6 to 12 months, you're mainly going to be serving United States, Australia, New Zealand. And now, people that are existing customers, can they keep their crypto inside Kalen Brown or they have to take it out?
Outside of those jurisdictions, do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually after the 6 month period, and that's why we've led such a long lead time. Unfortunately, they'll no longer be able to custody those assets with us, so we will require them to withdraw it. Again, all of those details will be provided to their broker, and they can always reach out to get those exact dates. But we've led a long lead time for them to actually be able to withdraw those assets and move them off our platform. Again, they'll still have access to their account. They'll still have the contact details of their broker. Unfortunately, it just means that we're not servicing those markets moving forward.
Okay.
And I know that we spoke about this just briefly before, but it's probably worth me saying this has got nothing to do with the financial performance of our business or our liquidity or whatever. Ultimately, we've been acquired by SwiftX, which is a huge Australian exchange for about 150 million Australian dollars. We are a very profitable business, but ultimately, we're looking to continue to grow and expand, and we want in the market that makes the most sense for us. And ultimately, that's the US market. So that's really our focus. If anything, we're growing very quickly. So it's got nothing to do with, I guess, the financial performance of our business. It's more so we just had ourselves too spread thin across too many different jurisdictions with too many different time zones. And it meant that the service quality was slipping from our most important one, which is the US. I know that's not going to sound positive or great for people that are in those jurisdictions, and we are truly understanding of that frustration. Again, we are hopeful that as we grow larger and larger as a business, that we can open up those markets again. But ultimately, that's really the key reason.
Very interesting. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with the cash flows and the financial situation here. What Caleb Brown, what it sounds, because I just was really hearing about this myself. What's happening is instead of Caleb Brown trying to open up in every single country in the whole world, I mean, that's just, it's not financially feasible to do that. What you have to do is okay, if I'm a salesman or I have a business, I want to go where my customers are. I don't want to go all around the world. People can't buy enough of my service. Like, I don't want to go spend $50 billion in Zimbabwe to make $100 in investments. That's not going to work business wise. So what you have to do as a business is go where most of your customers are to be the most profitable. A business goal is to make money. So it makes sense to me now. So now it's cleared up that there is no financial issue. The issue is, as a business, you have to be competitive. And that means you have to go after customers where your dollar is going to reach the most customers and do the most efficient route. So that's what it is. Now, as business grows, as crypto takes a turn for the better, we have more regulations around the world, then it'd be easier for Caleb Brown to then start spreading out again as people are buying more and more crypto. So, okay, so for those people, if you have not been notified, that means you've got time, plenty of time. But eventually, maybe in about 6 months or so, you're going to probably get a. Now, you always have an opportunity to email or call your broker, but and you could ask your broker, "Hey, how much time do I got left?" But eventually, down the road, they're going to just service the country. Now, the good part is said something about the United Kingdom. So they left the United Kingdom. Now they're going to start looking at down the road getting back into the United Kingdom. And I have a feeling as crypto becomes more mainstream that of course Caleb Brown would want to expand anywhere they can. But right now it looks as if, if you're in a business, you got a budget and you got to spend it where you're going to make the most money. That makes sense. So, okay, let me go
Yeah, and
ahead.
there's a bit of confusion. There's a bit of confusion in the comments. So I just want to stress and be very clear. If you're based in the US, Australia, or New Zealand, there is absolutely no change at all to anything with your Calvin Brown account. If anything, it means you're going to get an even better service now because we've got more and more resources focused on you and your time zone. So if you are a US client that's listened to this, you may as well have just ignored everything I said. There is no impact to you whatsoever, and there won't be moving forward because, as I said, most of our clients are US based. That's where all our focus is. That's where all our licensing is. So that's really our main area of focus. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, this does impact people if you're not in those jurisdictions. But again, as Hulk said, nothing in crypto is ever final. It's just got to do with the way that we do business. We're not an exchange. We require a lot of people that are customer facing, that are speaking to clients. And ultimately that means that when you scale, you need to focus on the markets that make the most sense for you. So that's the key reason. But ultimately, your broker will reach out with further information. I just know that this community is very tight knit. And obviously some people have started to receive those communications. So I think it was better for me to come on here and get on the front foot. But certainly we'll be providing much more communication as time goes on about this.
And Mr. Lucky has a question. When will Caleb Brown be accepting IOTA crypto deposits? I've got a good amount I want to keep safe.
Yeah, IOTA is a tough one in terms of being able to custody it in cold storage, just by the way in which it works on chain. So I think there's limited functionality you might be able to sell through us potentially. So IOTA is one that we are just constantly monitoring. We know that a lot of our clients hold it or want to custody with us. But for us, it's really about can we actually custody it safely for clients? And this stage, we can't. So if that changes, again, we'll always keep you guys updated. As an example, Linear, which was requested a few weeks ago, we've now got that listed. So we are always monitoring assets and seeing where there's different custody solutions available. But at this stage, for IOTA, we can't custody it for clients, unfortunately.
Okay, got that. Why is Caleb Brown's physical address not listed for Florida on the website?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chuck, and one that I've been asked a few times. Unfortunately, it's just due to the safety concerns at this stage of being a crypto business and even a crypto influencer. We're seeing all around the world that people are being abducted, they're being accosted for their crypto. We've funnily enough had a few people come to our Melbourne office and think that we store crypto there and we have money there. which was pretty amusing. So really, it's just for a security reason. That's the genuine reason. We don't necessarily want people rocking up to our Florida office with bad intentions, and it's really just a safety concern that we've had to take on as a cryptocurrency business. Now, if you are someone that wants to attend that office, that is where you can contact your broker and we can facilitate that. We are certainly encouraging of clients that want to come in and meet their broker and see the office. But ultimately, it's not something we're going to present out to the public just simply because of the security concerns.
Says here, Caleb and Brown, Ron Weber says, Caleb and Brown are great. Been very happy with your service. Have them big bags with you. Okay. Cloud says most companies are removing addresses from their websites. It's pretty super common.
Yeah, ultimately, as a business, we need to look after our employees. And unfortunately, a lot of people have misconceptions on what crypto businesses do and how we custody assets. And as I said, we've experienced that a few times in our Australian office. So really, the safety of our employees is the number one thing. So that's the main reason. But again, as I said, we're more than welcoming for people to come to the US office in Fort Lauderdale and our West Coast one once it's open. But please arrange that with your broker.
Okay. Let's talk about how is Caleb Brown, somebody who's brand new to the channel might say, so what's so big about Caleb Brown? So tell everybody like what differentiates Caleb Brown from like everybody else.
Yeah, it's a great question. And if you're someone that's new and you haven't heard about Caleb Brown before, I'm happy to give you a bit of a rundown. Ultimately, we are a personalized brokerage service. So if anyone has used an exchange before, you've experienced how sometimes it can be quite difficult to use. There's no real customer support or service. You might have an idea of what you're buying, but you have no idea. I guess you don't get that education around what does my portfolio look like? Am I diversified enough? Can I set up target orders, limit orders? Essentially, everything that we do is focused on informing our clients to make the best investment decisions possible. So with Caleb Brown, you get a dedicated broker. That broker has been in the crypto space for a really long time, and they're there to help you throughout your crypto journey. So that means helping you with your portfolio construction, helping you buy in and out of assets if you want. You can do it yourself through the portal, or if you're someone like me who just likes to email my broker to get a trade done while I'm out and about, you can just email your broker and we can execute a trade for you. Ultimately, it's just that personalized white glove service that was similar in the stockbroker world that we've brought to the crypto space. So it's a hands-on experience. We source liquidity sort of best in market through a range of different liquidity sources. So that means you're getting the best prices possible that you wouldn't necessarily get if you just went through an exchange as a regular individual. We also help custody assets for clients and we do it free of charge. So if you're someone that's holding a lot of crypto, but you're a little bit nervous about holding on a small little hardware wallet and you're not really sure what you're doing, you can use our institutional grade cold storage. It's free of charge, but it means that your assets are readily protected, but readily accessible as well, which is a big difference from a hardware wallet. So there's a whole range of features within our overall encompassing service that is really beneficial for a lot of clients. But ultimately, it's just that personalized white glove institutional-like service that unfortunately you just don't seem to get on exchanges. So that's the key difference. We work with over 50,000 clients, and the US is really where most of our clients are based.
Interesting, because you know, these crypto exchanges, it's like I've had experience with a few of them, and it's like you can't if you have a problem, there's nobody to get a hold of. And
100%.
well, somebody has a question here. Does Jim invest in crypto? And if so, what crypto does Caleb Brown like?
Uh, yeah, so I mean, I do invest in crypto. I've been in the space since 2017, and that's probably something that's pretty common with most people in this business is we are crypto native and just as obsessed as all of you, right? We all have personal holdings. I legally can't say what I am holding. Although I have, a whole range of different assets that I'm quite bullish on. And in fact, we've done a few shows here around some of those interesting assets before. So yeah, I'm just as involved as you guys. I'm riding the wave as all of you are. But as I said, most people in Caleb and Brown are very, very crypto native. In fact, some of our C-suite were buying Bitcoin back in, 2012, 2013. So we've all been in the space for a really long time, and we're super passionate about what we do.
I've been in crypto, I think 5.5 years. I kind of heard of Bitcoin way back in I'm trying to think 2018-ish, somewhere in there. But I didn't really know anything about it. But now it's kind of like I got some crypto, and it's just hold on a second, let me check. It's like I have a channel here. I can break down to people what cryptos, you know, what companies are interacting with what crypto, the banks, the um, venture capitalists that are involved. Because when I first started, like all it was Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I really didn't know anything about either one. It took me like a long time, and that's why with this channel here, we study a crypto, we look at who are all the partners to it, and then you have like a Caleb Brown, where if you still have more questions that I can't answer, then that's where they come in. Try doing that at a Coinbase or a crypto.com or a whatever. I mean, I don't know how, I know that when I used to use different exchanges, there's nobody that I could get a hold of except a bot. Maybe some kind of a bot and they don't even help. And that's why I decided to have Caleb Brown on this program as much as we do, because I know you guys got questions, and they are just, that's the reason. Like, I have a live program right here. We've got a top chat, and it's like we've got somebody from a broker right here with us. So I like having that on my show. It's very educational. This show is very educational. And with Caleb Brown, it helps because they take care. I'm not a broker. I don't deal with that, and I don't see all the stuff they see. And that's why it helps to have them as part of our team on this channel. Um, but let me check in some of these comments here. Chris
Yeah, and I
Sharp,
think that's really, I'll just
go
sort
ahead.
of double down on what you were saying there, Hulky. It's absolutely what we try and do is build long-term relationships with our clients. So some of our clients have been with us for 5, 6 years, and through their broker have made really great trades, and have had a really profitable experience. And then through that have built almost personal relationships with their brokers. So you're not going to get that in exchange. And unfortunately, I've had scenarios where my funds have been locked down or my account's been frozen, and there's just no one to speak to or can't get anyone that's an actual human on the phone. And so that's where it's really different with us, because you get a direct line to a broker. You have a customer support team around your account. So it's just a different business model altogether. But ultimately, it's one that a lot of our clients love because they can actually speak to someone about their specific portfolio. Because my portfolio is different from Hulk's, which is different from everyone else's on this call, right? So having someone that can help you with that, talk it over, discuss even things like exit strategies, which are quite valuable. It's just that hands-on experience that you're not necessarily going to get elsewhere. So that's a key difference.
Um, David Markulik says, if my broker isn't available, I get someone else from Caleb Brown in a few minutes to help with my questions.
Yeah, and so that's the other thing is that obviously with part of that reason for focus on the US is we have brokers in Australia, we have brokers in the US. So if you're trying to contact a broker and it's in a different time zone or it's late at night and maybe they've clocked off for the day, there is always someone managing their inbox. We always have associates and account managers looking after inboxes to make sure trades get done, but questions get answered. So it's a true 24/7 service, and that's what's needed in this space because crypto is 24/7, right? It's not like the stock market that closes down on a Friday and then you don't have to worry about it again till Monday. This thing's always running. So it means that our service needs to be 24/7, and that's what we provide.
Okay, so let's say someone says, "Well, I want to go with a Coinbase because they're one of the biggest." Because the biggest are the best. What can you tell us that Coinbase? Thank you very much, Gino Lim, for the donation. Does Caleb? Here's a question from Saywen 5988. Does Caleb Brown offer yield for custody or assets?
Another question I get all the time. We are actively looking into it currently. So in the past, and really since the business started, we've really operated in a risk-off approach. And what that means is we help clients custody assets, but everything's accounted for on a one-for-one basis. We aren't loaning out those assets or earning a yield elsewhere. Everything's always been accounted for one-for-one, which had meant that clients could always access their funds. Even in the most volatile days, if we had every client that wanted to withdraw their assets, we'd be able to process that. Now, as time has gone on and this space yearns for more, and especially when it comes from a yield perspective, we understand that our products need to continually innovate. So we are actively looking at yield opportunities. We're looking at loaning and lending. We're also looking at real world assets. We have a big belief as a business that the tokenization of assets will be all encompassing. Everything from stocks to hard metals. We're already starting to see that with some of those assets. So we are very much going to continue to expand our product suite, but at this stage, we aren't offering yield generation on assets. It's something that we're going to do our due diligence on and are currently in that phase of doing it. We just never are going to rush into something that could potentially compromise the custody and security focus that we've had as a business since day one. So at this stage, no, but ultimately it will be something that I'm sure we'll offer for our clients in the future.
Chris Sharp says it's definitely 24-hour. Kalen Brown has done trades for me at 3 a.m. a couple times. I see that. Okay, there's a crypto called CFG. Mark, we've gone over CFG before on this channel. A lot of these people have bought it on a MetaMask or something. Would you be able to, Jim, put on your list CFG, the crypto, and see if
Hmm.
you guys are allowed to get it?
Yeah.
Is
I
that
believe that's
Centrifuge?
centrifuge, right?
I don't. I'm looking it
Yeah, I
up
think it
now.
might be. I'm almost certain we've
Yeah,
done a review of this one, but I can't quite
Centrifuge.
recall if we are going to list it or what's happened. So let me look into that for you, and I'll let you know whoever that person was in the chat. I've heard of Centrifuge. I'm sure we've done a review. Our operations team have done a review. So I'll let you know and get back to you on that one.
Okie dokie. Can you buy stocks at Caleb and Brown?
Yeah, so as I just said then, unfortunately no at this stage. So we are purely just crypto and we're just spot crypto. So you can buy crypto through us, but you can't even do sort of leverage trading at this stage. But it is certainly in our plans to be able to offer things like stocks in the future. It would most likely be tokenized stocks though, right? We're probably not going to become a certified traditional finance stockbroker ourselves. But what we would offer is probably crypto products that are backed one for one to that stock, if that makes sense. Now, there are a few platforms that are starting to do that, which is exciting and innovative. Ultimately, I don't know about you, Hulk, but I bought some US stocks a few weeks ago, and the fees on that and how long it took was quite astronomical. So I'm certainly looking forward to a world where that's all on chain and it's a lot quicker and easier. So in the future, I'm sure that we'll continue to move our product suite and focus into that space as well and into the RLWA space. But at this stage, we're purely just crypto and spot trading through Calvin Brown.
Yeah, I haven't bought any stocks yet. I do want to. I opened up a Fidelity account. Um, haven't bought anything. What somebody just told me the other day, they wanted to buy a particular kind of stock that I discussed on my show. And because we look into stocks now sometimes here. And this guy said it took like 4 or 5 days for that transaction to happen. So I was like, damn. So it was a kind of stock where you just can't order it off your own computer. You have to have a broker buy it for you. And he was saying like it took 4 days. So I'm like, wow. Um, so I haven't gotten into stocks yet and don't have any idea of really too much on the buying process. Let me look here.
It's I can speak on it. It's relatively a lot longer than just buying crypto, just because it needs to be processed. There's settlement time. So usually once you buy a stock, it takes a couple of days for it to actually settle. And then obviously as well, the stock market isn't 24/7. So ultimately you can only really buy when it's open. And the tokenization of stocks will help fix a lot of those issues. So yeah, obviously that's not really in our product suite yet, but it's probably something we'll probably offer in the future.
Gino Lim decided to pull the trigger. He is he put in a little donation here. It says, Crypto Hulk, I'm joining the badass mother blank group. That's what's up. Jim, let's have another shrimp on the Barbie. Uh, he must be excited of joining the channel, but he's on the right track. Gino's got the right. We got a great program here on my channel where I do a lot of research and explaining. We've got a custody solution called Caleb Brown, which utilizes Fireblocks, just like 2,000 of the top world's banks and financial institutions. And we have a Crypto Hulk lawyer on top of that that you guys can get hooked up with. So we have a pretty good little gig going here. And let me look for the next question.
Yeah, shrimp on the barbie. We definitely don't call it shrimp. It's called prawns, as I think Stewie mentioned in the chat. That's always a common saying, as well as most people thinking we ride around on kangaroos. So I left him a little comment about that in the chat.
Jim, Chris Sharp asked, Jim, is there any chance you and your team could look into holding Rise Crypto, RIZE?
Rise Crypto. Let me have a look
Yeah.
into that one. I have yet heard of that, but yeah,
What
absolutely. So
there's some called the Canton Network, and the Canton Network is a group of about 500 banks and financial institutions. They're nodes on the Canton Network. And what Rise does is they're the tokenizing agent for the Canton Network. So all these banks that are involved in this and different kind of financial institutions, they're all involved in this Canton network. They have something that they use on their private network called a Canton coin. But Rise is the company where if they want to tokenize real world assets, it kind of acts like Securitize. Securitize is the agent for BlackRock that tokenizes everything. So Rise is kind of doing the same thing, but for the Canton network. So that one we'd like to kind of
interesting. Yeah, and
know.
I mean the
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just looking at the tokenomics of it because again, that's something that we'll look into is the liquidity of it. Ultimately, the liquidity is quite strong on it. So yeah, leave it with me. I'll talk to our operations team and see whether it's something we can list.
Okay. Okay, now here we have one. Does Caleb and Brown plan on lowering fees compared to other firms? What do you think about that one?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that our fee structure is already very competitive, if not better than most exchanges, and I'll explain why. So we charge a flat fee of 3.5%. Now, naturally, that's a lot more or a lot higher than the usual transaction fee you'll see on an exchange, but that's the only fee that we charge. So often at times, how exchanges make most of their money is on spreads. And what that is the difference between the price that you've bought an asset at and the price that you'll sell it at. So a simple exercise that you can do is you can go on an exchange and look at the price of XRP to buy it, and then you can look at the price to sell it, and you'll see that there's a significant difference, and that's what the spread is. So often at times on these exchanges, they won't tell you what the spread is. You won't see it. That'll just be a hidden cost that you'll be incurred. A similar cost that you won't be aware of is things like withdrawal fees, or they'll have things like withdrawal limits. You'll also suffer from things like slippage as well. So all of these fees can really add up. I do know that on that day of volatility where there was a lot of liquidations occurring, that the spreads on some exchanges blew out to say 5 or 6%. So yes, with Calum Brown, we charge a larger transaction fee, which is that 3.5%, but that's the only fee that we charge, and it's as transparent as possible. So when you make a trade, you will see what the fee is being charged. On top of that, we don't charge for things like custody. We don't have withdrawal fees. We don't charge spreads or slippage. So you actually end up doing a lot better in the long run with us than say on an exchange. It's just unfortunate that the spreads and the slippage aren't readily seen on these platforms. But I assure you, if you go through that exercise, you'll see that there's a massively different in the price.
Okay, one thing I wanted to go over is that a withdrawal fee, that's going to suck. Now, these other exchanges, well, these exchanges have withdrawal limits. Explain, Jim, what's the importance? Okay, so let's say this. You're all about, oh, I just want to pay 1% or whatever. What happens, Jim, when you're on some exchange that has a $20,000 a day withdrawal limit? Your XRP hits and you're now worth $1 million and you want to take that money out. Jim, what happens?
What happens is it's going to take you a very long time to get that into, say, a bank account, as an example, and you'll be charged a fee every single day. So, unfortunately, most exchanges will have withdrawal limits. The reason for that is that most likely, and again, I don't 100% know, is that they don't have the liquidity readily available for you to be able to make $1 million withdrawal straight away. Or they may have it for you, but if you think about how many clients exchanges have, that ends up scaling out to be quite a lot. So if you're someone that sells out of your XRP position, you ultimately become a millionaire and you want to put that into your bank account, that is going to take you months and months to get that into a bank account. And it's going to be very stressful. And I'm speaking from experience. In 2021, wasn't a million. So I'm certainly not a millionaire, but it was a decent sized amount of money. But it took me a really long time to actually get that off and into my bank account because I had limits imposed. And I can speak from experience, it is very stressful. And when you're ready to exit, you want to exit all in one go. So again, that's something that we always stress for clients, even if they're not going to use us as the off ramp, have a go at going through the withdrawal process on these exchanges where you're holding your crypto, because I guarantee you, if you don't go through it now, when everyone's trying to exit at the same time, it's going to take you a really long time. And unfortunately, it's just not the experience you want to be a part of. So with Cal and Brown, we have no withdrawal limits. If you're wanting to withdraw $10 million to your bank account, we will process that in all in one go for you. So it gives you peace of mind. It also is great because if it's taking a little longer through the banks, that's where you can call your broker and your broker can speak to our bank, which will speak to your bank to see what's going on. Again, the personalized service that you're not unfortunately going to get at other platforms.
Okay, so here's my perspective, how I look at it, because I look at things from maybe a more mature viewpoint. And if I got an exchange where it's 1%, okay, that's all great. Okay, now let's go with a real world situation that could happen. A certain crypto that you have skyrockets in price. You're now worth $2 million. I got my stuff at Caleb Brown. You're on the website that charges you 1%. Okay. You try to take your money out and they're like, oh, you can only pull out 20 or let's say 50,000 bucks per day. As of that point, you then start seeing your crypto starting to dump. And you're like, what? Now with me at Caleb Brown, I'm out of that with a quickness. Okay. Yes, I'm charged there 3% or whatever it is. Okay. Sucks being me, right? But with you, you can't get your shit out and it goes all the way down to zero. Guess what, champ? You just lost $2 million. So, I mean, that's on a, what if your shit goes to 100 million, 50 million? See, what I'm looking at, me personally, is I want to take my money out now, immediately. I'm not trying to wait 50,000 bucks a day, $20,000 a day. What if that shit ain't valuable 20 days from now? Okay. These are the things that I want. That crypto exchange, your crypto might be given to somebody else and they're staking it. I'm not trying to deal with that crap. So for some of you, when we had that last dump, how many of you had your stuff in a wallet or an exchange and you couldn't sell it? How good is that 1% fee going to deal? See, here's the thing. When everything's working perfectly, maybe that's great. Maybe that's great for you. But when we had that dump, all I know is everybody at Caleb Brown was able to get in and out instantly of everything and cash out immediately. Not you and your little 1% at the exchange that you can't get a hold of anybody. You can't call them and this and that. So if you think it's worth it, then that's what you got to do. I know that I could pick up the phone and talk to my broker and say, my bank is getting all kinds of stupid. Jim, could you talk to these people? Boom, hand them the phone. And so you can't do that at Coinbase. You can't do that at any other place. So what you have to look at, is it really worth it to you? Maybe it is to you, but I'll tell you what, when I need to bust a move, I'm not trying to wait 20, 30 days to get my $20 million out of the bank. Maybe I want to get that shit out of the bank and get out of my country right away. If you're with some other exchange where you're getting that 1%, you might be waiting 3 months to get paid. So be careful what you get. If it works for you, awesome. Congratulations.
And that's why most high net worth individuals continue to keep using our service, because they're trying to move money at size, whether that's on ramping into crypto, off ramping out. And they just have a way better experience with us. It's more seamless for them. They have a direct point of contact that they can reach out to about it. Whereas, as Hulk mentioned, we saw it on that mass liquidation day that a lot of people couldn't even get into their exchange accounts, let alone make any trades. And that does happen in times of really high volatility. So we know that a lot of our clients would probably like to make quick trades, especially when the markets are volatile. So having that peace of mind is really valuable for a lot of them. But as I mentioned, yes, we charge a higher transaction fee than what you're readily seen on an exchange. But when you actually factor in for the spreads and the slippage that they charge on top of it, which are more hidden, you're actually probably getting a worse rate, especially the case on altcoins, where there's a lot more margin for error. So something to keep in mind. Again, we're readily transparent, which for sometimes is a fault because people see the 3.5% and lose their mind. But I would always recommend you to do some more research on spreads and how that works on exchanges, because that's where they make most of their money.
Here we got crystal gazing. Uphold new thing. Uphold new thing. You can move crypto through email or number. How does that work? I don't know. I haven't heard of
You
it.
wouldn't, yeah, and I'm not sure what they mean by moving crypto. Ultimately, for you to move crypto on the blockchain, you need to move it from one wallet address to another. It's not like you can just send an email and your crypto is moved. Now, ultimately, we allow for clients to do things like trades and stuff like that via email, but that's not you conducting the trade through the email. It's you making a trade request through email, and then your broker does that on your behalf. So I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. So if you could provide more information, I'm happy to address it. But ultimately, for most of these platforms, you do it on the actual platform yourself.
Jim, have you ever had a kangaroo try to attack you?
No, I haven't. I've had a few close calls. There's some kangaroos that are huge. Like, I think that's probably the misconception, is that they're really small. I've come across some kangaroos that are like 6'6" and huge. But no, they're mostly pretty timid and pretty tame. But if you do try and confront one, there's a few videos online of people confronting them or fighting them. It's not something I'd want to be doing. They're pretty big and they've got pretty big legs. So yeah.
I was watching a video one time, I don't know, a couple years ago, and I'll tell you what, this kangaroo looked like it had the devil in it, but it came up to like their house, like their back porch window or something, and that kangaroo was ready to like kill these people. Is that common? Like without being, I guess we can't see what happened before. Maybe they did something to it, ran in the house or something, but I mean, the look of that kangaroo, like he wanted to kill these people. So, that's not normal, is it?
Oh, so look, they're not, I wouldn't say they're predators by any means. They're not like lions or anything where if you're around one, they'll run up to you and try and eat you. But they're certainly huge and dangerous. If you get one that's aggressive and you antagonize it, then there's every chance it could kill you. I wouldn't know what the kangaroo death numbers are. I wouldn't say it'd be anything too crazy. But certainly, like, they have the capacity to kill you. Absolutely. So it's not something that you necessarily want to run up and have a fight with them. But we are overpopulated with kangaroos in Australia. They live a pretty good life here. Ultimately, more so in the countryside. It's not like where I live, there's just kangaroos everywhere. It's obviously more in the country. That's also a bit of a misconception, but yeah, for sure, they can definitely kill you. They're quite strong animals, and very athletic. So, you definitely got to be careful if you see one.
Okay, John Knapp says Caleb and Brown is badass. Absolutely love it. Thanks, Hulk, for putting me on. Carlos Ramirez says just opened my account, Caleb and Brown. Can I transfer assets from an exchange like Coinbase, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's something that you can do free of charge. As I've mentioned, the only time we'll ever actually charge you a fee is when you actually make a trade with us. So that's buying crypto, that's selling crypto, or swapping between two different cryptos. So if you're just looking to transfer assets from a Coinbase account to Kevin Brown, that's easy, and easily done through our portal. But again, if you're having issues, you can reach out to your broker. But most importantly, we won't charge a fee for that. So yeah, absolutely. I would always recommend for anyone on this call, look, exchanges are great, and I've got started in crypto through exchanges. But the one thing I would stress to anyone on this call, regardless of if you're going to use Kalen Brown or not, is to not hold your assets on an exchange. Either use a hardware wallet, use our custody solution. But we've just seen it too many times, and I've experienced this personally with FTX. You don't want to hold your assets on an exchange because ultimately they're doing other stuff with them. Again, they're not readily available. So if you're someone that is in crypto, I would recommend understanding how to use a hardware wallet or using a service that provides an institutional grade custody solution like Caleb Brown.
Okay, we got Shah Iskander. Thank you very much for that donation. We got
Yeah, so I think, sorry, I'll just jump in there. I know that
okay.
Shah, I think he's one of the people impacted. I think he might be based in Malaysia. So
Yes.
Shah, as I said to you in the chat, just go back to the start of this video. I address what's occurring in jurisdictions outside of the US and a few others. So have a listen of that. Your broker will be able to provide more information on it. But yeah, have a look back later, earlier in this video.
My Hawkward, a member for 7 months. I just came in, forgive me, but are you going to custody Wecan or Concordium? So Wecan's a crypto and Concordium's another crypto. I think it's CCR. Have you ever heard of those?
I've heard of Weekend. I think we've spoken about it a few times. I haven't heard of CCR. But again, similar to Rise, I can speak to our operations team. I think Rise, just having a look at the tokenomics and the fact that it's listed on a few exchanges already, probably pretty likely we can list it. I need to confirm the custody solution element to it. But Weekend, CCR, I can also ask, but I don't know as much about them, and I'd need to look at the tokenomics of them.
Okay. Yeah, CCR. I'm looking through some comments here. And then it's kind of like this with Caleb and Brown. Um, you have fire blocks, and that's also part of what you have. And I have to stress this. This is one of the biggest reasons, besides just when you have fire blocks, okay, I want to be, me personally, just speaking of myself, what I want is to be in with the biggest banks in the world. I want to have, if BNY Mellon, the oldest bank in the United States, trusts Fireblocks, I want them. Ripple uses Fireblocks to custody their stable coin. And when I read that to you guys the other day, I'm like, what? So for me personally, I want to buy my crypto from Caleb and Brown because it's in a Fireblocks custody solution that even Ripple uses. And that's all included in like your fees stuff. So it's kind of like you really have to, like, me personally, I like to know, like right now, I can pick up this damn phone and I can call my broker, Sean. Okay. More than likely, he'll pick up the phone. If not, I can leave a message. I'm going to get a call back. Maybe I get transferred to somebody else. Fireblocks, calling them up. If I got a problem, I know I could email anytime someone's going to get back to me within an email. It's just I've got really good solid vibes and stuff, and I see a business model where customer service is number one, You got a broker you can talk to. I mean, come on. So you can go cheap, and then when all of it goes bad, you're by yourself. That's not where I want to be. I want to be connected to my millions. When this thing goes, I want to have a broker on that phone if I'm running into a problem and fix it ASAP and get my money out or whatever. I'm not trying to deal with a bot. If you want to deal with a bot, I mean, that already says the kind of person you are. Your person don't care, and that's fine. I care. If I got an issue, I want my money immediately, 24/7. I want my money out and put into a bank account so I can have 5, 10 million bucks in there. If you're a person who wants to deal with playing email tag bots for 2, 3 weeks, nobody to help you, I mean, that's not like, I'm not trying to do that, me personally. Maybe if I was 20 years old and didn't know. But that's why I go with Caleb Brown. All righty, we got about less than 9 minutes left. If you have a question, now's the time. I'm just going through comments. Let's look. Josh. Okay, I know who this is. Josh says, "Hey, my guy, I'm getting my stuff all completed with Anderson Group. It will take some time. Should I create a single account now or wait to be LLC'd?" I mean, you know what? You should call up your lawyer. Call them up, because that's more of a question for them. I don't want to get into tell you what you should create. So
Or
I'm gonna.
or is he saying should I create a single Caleb Brown account now or wait to be LLC? Is that what he's asking, or is he saying
That
something?
might
Maybe
be
he's saying
it. I'm
something
not
different.
quite. Should I create a single account now? I think. I mean, you could join now with Caleb Brown and then just transfer your stuff over. You could do that. That's not going to be an issue. Um,
Yeah, Josh, one of the things that a lot of our clients do is they'll have an individual account and an entity account. Often at times, whatever they're investing through the entity will be different to what they want to invest in their personal capacity. And so you can do that with us. And ultimately, the accounts, it's linked in the sense that it's part of the same login. So if you have an individual account, you can then add a second entity LLC to that, and you'll be able to toggle between the two accounts. Now they'll be completely different in terms of different holdings, wallet addresses, etc. But ultimately, if you want to get started now, I'd recommend creating an individual account. Use the link in the description so you get priority access to a broker. And then when you're ready to onboard your LLC, you can onboard that LLC through that individual account. So that's what I would recommend, but it's completely up to you.
okay. Somebody love crystal gazing says, uphold no help with transferring crypto or any issues, no video to help. So, like, I don't.
Yeah, look, if sorry, I was just going to say, if you're having issues and you're looking to transfer to Callum Brown, we can help as much as we can. Obviously, we're not Uphold employees, so there's only so much we know about their transfer mechanisms, but we can try and help you as much as possible to help you move those assets over. But if it's an issue specifically with Uphold and they're freezing your accounts or whatever, there's not much we can do, unfortunately.
Look, communication, you guys, the reason I have my show set up, every show is a live show. And the reason is I got a top chat, okay? It's called communication. So when you have a question and it's an appropriate question and it's going to help everybody, then I'll allow that question to be in here and I'll try to answer it the best that I can in real time. That's what we do. It's communicating. Like, I've got information, I read articles, we talk about crypto, I look in the top chat, you ask a question. We got Caleb and Brown here. During the week, I get different questions. And today, Caleb Brown told us about some coming business changes. So it's about communicating. And I announced probably since 7 hours before the show started that we're going to have Caleb Brown. It's been there for 7 hours. So you can have, if you had some kind of a question or something that you could get on this show in the top chat and ask. So, here's a spammer here. Let me get rid of them. So, Jim, any last comments? Yeah, do you have any last comments on anything?
No, I mean, business as usual here. All I would say is, look, we're at a precarious point in the market. I understand that for many on this call, and I'm included in that, that there is a level of significant uncertainty around where are we at in the market. Obviously, October in the past has been a very strong month for crypto. It's been a green month since 2018, but that trend ended last October or just last month in October. So we are in a bit of a level of uncertainty. Ultimately, if you look at the macro environment, you look at inflows, these are the kinds of indicators that I'll be looking at moving forward to see, are we still in a bull market or are we moving more into bearish conditions? So all I would recommend for anyone on this call that is holding crypto assets is to stay on top of that. Ultimately, crypto is still very much impacted by the macro environment. And so it's something that we're looking at in terms of, are we going to get further interest rate cuts in December? Are we actually going to go into quantitative easing or tightening? Sounds like we're going to go into easing. That's very bullish for crypto. So there's a lot of things to keep on top of. Ultimately, would love for November to be a better performing month. Now, it certainly hasn't started that way, but we've still got a long road ahead. And I do think that this will probably be different from the usual 4-year crypto cycle that we've seen since crypto really came to its inception. We're most likely, given the institutional adoption, probably pushing that out to say 5 years. So it's going to be interesting that this cycle will be very different to others, but ultimately stay as informed and educated as possible. That's where your broker is there to help. That's where we're there to help. So I think we're still at a great point in the market, but it is something we need to stay on top of because, October was historically meant to be a good month and it really wasn't that great of a month in the end. So we just need to keep on top of how the market's looking moving forward.
Okay, that wraps it up for today's project that we have here. We went over and explained what's occurring at Caleb Brown. We talked about, for new people, how to get in on the crypto, the benefits, the benefits of Caleb Brown. We have them. We try to have them on the show about every other month. They're an integral part of my program, and I'd like to thank them for showing up. And I think that'll be a wrap, you guys. So I'm going to work on